Welcome to this free training session. I'm Atlas, and I'm going to be running you through a lot of the exercises that I use to activate myself in my body, helping to flush the channels. I see that all creation often comes from a source, whether we think of it in a divine sense, this idea of in the beginning there was the word, or this idea of some kind of universal sentience issuing forth the universe, or simply us writing a song or drawing a picture, whatever it is. It can be an artful way we have a communication, conversation with someone. It can be going between self and self. You might just really indulge in a sensation in the body. It can be going from self to other, televised like this, or it can be from someone else to someone else. Always there seems to be a flow. So a lot of my artistry is around flow. It's about freestyle, it's about spontaneity, improvisation. So I really hope that this session is valuable. It's aimed at all humans, regardless of whether you consider yourself an artist or not. I think that art itself is just a beauty. It's the aesthetics. It's using shape, form, rhythm, meaning. We are weavers of meaning. We always assign stories to ourself, our own identity, to the society that we live in. We look at how historic point going back and going forward. We love to tell each other stories through movies and all these sort of things. So for me, that really is my lifeblood. And I really hope that this session, I just want to gift it out to people. If you want to share it, I'd love that, because I want to activate as many people as I can into their creativity and really champion the idea that we are all creative. A really cool book that I've recently gone through is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she talks about the creative life and what it takes to live a life of curiosity. I think that as soon as we start to go into automatic, as soon as we're too adult, as soon as we assume things, we're not really in our explorer mode. We're not really in that childlike wonder. We're not really at play. Because I think for me, play is an exchange. It's about us being present with something, giving an offer, it bounces around, it comes back to us, and there's some kind of conversation. I believe so much can be learned simply through physics, through friction, through flow, through power, through momentum. I'm not sure if you've ever danced with someone on the dance floor, not even having had a conversation, and you can feel their personality, you can feel the care. It is a language. And so I guess this is body language. We're very human literate. When we look at someone's face, we look at their body, we can really add to the words. We really understand so much more of the meaning through what they're saying in the way that they move. So for me, if I'm coaching people to try and get through the writer's block, and that writer's block could be any kind of creative block, I often think of it trying to step into the same frequency or the same embodiment as the art you're trying to create. So if you're sitting there stagnant at a desk, or you're sitting there stagnant anywhere, and you're imagining all these like frivolous, vivacious kind of artworks, it makes sense that there's a block, there's a disconnect. You're not feeling it, it's not coming from you. You're trying to scoop butterflies with your net while you're on the ground. Whereas my approach is more to embody, to match the frequency, to start. If you want your song to be like, if you're an EDM dance producer, obviously, if you get into that experience, you're gonna be the music. You're gonna become an origination point. You're gonna be the point from which, or the source from which, that art can emanate out into the world. And it's a hugely vulnerable thing. In essence, we're allowing other human beings to see us, to witness us having an experience. And with open world theatre, it's all about the experience, not about performing, not about presenting, putting on a mask, convincing, fooling. It's about coming into a sincere moment, an earnest moment of experience, and having that blossom up inside us. And for us to feel that, I believe we need to do this training. I'm reading a book at the moment called Mastery, and it's by Robert Greene. And he talks about this genius that we all have and the potential for mastery. And in the modern day, obviously, we're a quick fix kind of society, and we want to just have our dopamine fix. We want to be entertained. But when we come back to our origin, when we come back to our childlike curiosity, genius means the spirit that was attendant upon your birth. And for me, what that means is it's the innate leaning, your inclination, your vocation, what you are called to do, beyond any of the imposition of responsibility or identity or cultural programming. It's just like, this is what brings me to life. When I respire, I inspire. When I breathe, I bring that life into my body and it goes into my mix. We're all breathing from the same oxygen and the same air, sipping on the same sky, but how it invokes in my body, what it stirs up and how it comes back out is my unique filter. And I think that's what artists are doing. We are experiencing life. We are being moved by it. We are feeling it through us. And then we're going, I would love it if you could have this experience with me. And so I think that's what our artistry is. It's an attempt to translate our experience of the universe and therefore feel more connected. And the more direct we can allow people to access us, I think that's the better artist or performer that we are. So we're going to do some stuff now. I'm going to take you through a process. So if you're playing along at home, hopefully you've got a space. I've only got, a meter or two diameter around me. And I'm going to take you right through a full process starting at the beginning. So allocate a significance to this space. Do you give yourself time to step into your studio? We can rip off and reclothe any space. We can turn it from a bedroom into a studio, into a playground, into a study. It's not so much about the physical makeup of the space, it's about you honoring this particular space. So for me, before I've started the session here with you, I've cleaned the floor, lit some incense, I've shifted the lights, cleared a space for me to be in. And I think that is something that is really important to begin. So I encourage you to clear a space for yourself and make a little bit of a ritual of you stepping into your artist, this idea of the identity. So for me, my hair feels kind of in the way, so I'm just going to tie it back. And this is where the meditative aspect of the beginning of my practice comes in. I like to feel the self-love, I like to feel the preparation. And as an artist, for me, it's like being a warrior, it's like being a healer, it's like being a politician. You get ready to step into your particular operating theatre, your particular town hall to give your public address. And for me, the artist, it's not really the gallery space that is our arena, it's the studio itself. And it's very easy for us to have a studio at home and to become very familiar with it, casual with it. But I would encourage you to turn on some music that inspires you. Think of the lineage of artists that you're going to continue. So I'm just doing my hair in this moment. I feel that with my hair back, I'm more forward in my face. And a big part of what open world embodiment practices are is about stripping away the insulation between you and life. When I think of the word anesthetic, if you go to a dentist or a doctor, they inject you with anesthetics to stop you from feeling, to numb you. So the aesthetics is the same word without the an, meaning the negative. So I believe that the aesthetics help us feel. That's better for me. Talking about embodiment, do you massage your body? Do you tap your body? Do you rub your hands and feel the warmth? Do you breathe? Two of my essentials in my kit, one is coconut oil. I love to use that for just allowing me to feel elastic in my skin, so I put that on every day. and the other is apple cider vinegar. So I like to have it in a squirter like this, just to sort of squeeze it through my hair, my scalp, sort of cleansing myself or drinking it. And just feeling like we have access to both our inside and our outside. Also, I like to put some on my skin. I also just want to say, while this is like a training session, please take self-responsibility. Putting apple cider vinegar directly on your skin, if you're not used to it, might burn. I might do silly things in the session. So I just want to show you what I do in my creative embodiment practices. But please take responsibility for yourselves, and please feel where your limit is. Feel the threshold you might want to soften across. But also, be sensible, because sometimes I'm silly. I like being a bit of a crash test dummy. So, apple cider vinegar, coconut oil. So we're just going to drop into our session now by dropping into our bodies. Allow yourself to breathe. Loosening any tension in the face, and massaging can help that. Any masks, any expressions you feel yourself pinned into during the day, just indulge and have this as a really beautiful time for you as a creative human to take off your costumes of society, to take off your masks of acceptability, of civilization. I really like to feel the tension at the back of my head release, so you can just sort of use your hands to feel any tension at the back of your skull. And just imagine the collection of all the thoughts and the pictures and the heaviness, the noise. And imagine that tension kind of just releasing, softening, opening, giving you space between the noise of the mind and the body. The creative flow channel is soft and open, even if your artistry is rapid and colourful. I think the body can remain really soft. So allow your breath to come into your belly, loosening the jaw, opening the throat. And allow some sound to come out on the exhale. A really important shift of perception in these sounds and these movements. We're not dancing, we're not singing, we're moving and we're sounding. It's about the elements, we're not crafting them yet. Also, if you feel yourself doing something you usually do, like if you're used to embodiment practices, I encourage you to always disrupt yourself, always catch yourself off guard. If you read Awaken the Giant Within from Tony Robbins, he talks about this disruption method, or you're having a conversation and it will suddenly chuck in something loud or something really absurd, just to get us off the habitual way we engage and try to create new neural pathways or new ways of using the body. So just maybe go diagonal and maybe shift from side to side. Scrunch up your face, make your body tight, stretch wide, tight, wide, tight. Feeling into your chest center and shaking like a shimmy. Shaking is something that animals do when they've just been in shock, and we don't do it enough as humans, just to release any of the tension, to open ourselves. So coming up to this heart center, we'll just do a little bit of cyclic breath, breathing into the heart, in and out through the mouth. and really allowing the exhale to be just a release. You're not pushing the air out, you're just breathing into the heart and letting go. So continue doing that while I'm talking. We are creative, and for too long we've been estranged from our innate capacity to create realities, to share ideas, to find our commonality, to have empathy through telling stories. We used to be wandering minstrels. We used to gather around the fire. We used to dance in the fields. And yet now we have this elitist attitude to creativity. We have these industries who claim it, these expensive schools who give you certificates, and these industrial or industry leaders who give you trophies and awards. No, it's not theirs. Art is yours. And that innate celebration, that divinity, that way that you like to pray, that way that you like to make love, the way that you like to remember things or journal, the way that you like to have an intimate moment with someone and say, you really are, and then you describe in your own poetry how they make you feel. That is just part of the human experience. So I'm calling up now the innate humanity, the innate creators, the people who have a story to tell, the people who have a dance to share, the people who have some rewilded way to bring us back to our humanity. I'm telling you, I'm declaring it here that we are creators. So please step into your creatorship. Please allow this moment to be foolish, to be ugly, to be weird, to be strange. Because it's only when we start to do the tangents, the lateral thinking, the left field ways of approaching life that we come up with true genius solutions, that we start to approach things from a different culture. And that's the culture of ourselves. We start to cultivate, generate, and create something new. Even in the mucky debris, the deteriorated, eroded aspects of our current civilization, with all the racism, with all the environmental factors, with our poor diets, with our mental health of isolation and capitalist egocentricity. From that muck, we can grow such potent, big, swollen pumpkins of magic. We can rebuild anything. And quickly, creativity doesn't have to take a lot of effort if you're in flow. For me, the distinction is between thinking and knowing. When you think, it takes mechanical time. It takes comparison. It takes morals. It takes identity. These are mechanical and restrictive. When we're in the flow of knowing, it's so much more immediate. It's holistic. It's essential. It's innate. And that is the state of mind that I'm going to encourage us to get into now. So you're still breathing into your heart. Feel free to burp, to yawn, to stretch, to grunt. I'm going to shift my chair now, and I'm going to take you through an activation sequence for the different meridian points in your body. So this is our instrument. This body that we're using here is our way of conveying our ideas. And I'm going to help you go through a really simple sequence that's going to enable you to activate yourself. So coming down from our heart now, down into our sacral area, shimmering that. Maybe a little bit of activation of the sides here, the hips. Okay, cool. So I'm going to get you to hang down from your hips. I'm going to try and keep most of this on camera. So you're hanging down, there you go, hanging down from your hips. And the intention here is to draw energy up from the earth. Taking your hands, wrapping them around your ankles, you're going to massage up your legs and draw energy up with intention and breath. Up the back of your legs, lifting your bum cheeks, activating the root, having the hands come over, coming under to the root, pulling up through your bladder point, coming up through your fire line of the solar plexus, around your chest, and you're going to press into the top of your ribs and breathe out, releasing any frustration, rage, anger, like that. Feeling yourself tilting the pelvis forward so your lower back is not pinched. Breathing in, bringing the hands back. Scooping them up and over, coming down to your tailbone. I'll show you on the hand here. You're going to be massaging in between your thumb and your index finger for the large intestine point while rubbing your tailbone. The reason I want to activate the tailbone is because it's activating the whole spine. We're coming up the governing meridian, and this is associated with our divinity, our purpose, enlightenment, success. So feeling that coming up your spine as you drag your hands up, coming under the armpits, feeling, and just, so breath, sound, and movement are always together in my practices. Breathing, sounding, and moving. But also feel the intention as we come past our underarms. This is where our lymph nodes are. And just have this sense of activating your lymph, activating your immune system, and being well. Bring your thumbs up to the outside of your chest, rubbing the lung points. Nice deep breaths. Rubbing under your collarbones, the kidney points. Just feeling any anxiety going. Just allowing any of the creative insecurity or sexual insecurity. Feeling it in your body, not trying to resist it or make it wrong, but just feeling it. And trusting that the body can release it when you really feel it. Splashing our hands up like water, up our neck once again, being aware of our lymph nodes. Coming down to between our shoulders, continuing that governing meridian up our spine. Once again, aligning with our spirituality, our enlightenment, our success. Placing the thumbs underneath the base of the skull, interlocking the fingers. Hopefully you can see that back there. Interlocking the fingers. And I put my pinkies like little antenna. So with this creative embodiment, part of it is actual physical fitness, but part of it is just imagination. So just imagine your pinkies there as like a little antenna above the crown. Pressing into the base of your skull, releasing any tension in your sinuses. Imagining the point where your brain and your spinal column come into contact. This is actually called the atlas vertebrae. And just imagine a little gland at that intersection and breathing in to the brain, imagining that light rippling out from that gland at the back of your head through your brain. Guiding the thumbs up the back of the head, pressing the pinkies into your crown. Make a little halo around your head. Crossing the hands in front of you, massaging the top of your scalp here. And bringing the hands down the face, over the eyes, under the eyes. Really getting into contact with this mushy clay of your face, this part of our real estate that we define ourselves so much by. Rubbing under the nose. This is the end of the governing meridian. So it started at our tailbone, came up over our heads, and it's now finishing here. Using the fingers to drag down the jaw. Using the thumbs under the bottom lip. And this is the beginning of our central meridian, which is our humanness. And it's a really beautiful counterpoint to the spiritual part of ourselves. So feel that vulnerability and that surrender, that need for support coming down. And now it's like we're sword swallowing energy, tilting the head up, And guiding it down the throat, through the heart. Just feel what's there. Through the solar plexus, through the belly, small intestine, large intestine. Appreciate the liver and the kidneys, your filtration system, coming down through the bladder point, just above your pubic bone, feeling your genitals, and then coming from your pelvis, brushing down your legs, returning it back into the earth. Beautiful. Hopefully you feel activated, soft yet charged. So that's just a little sequence that you can repeat as often as you want, just to get all of the energy lines, circulation, all these sort of things flowing and connected and on, essentially. So now let's drop into a stillness, a peacefulness. If we're going to create something, it's great to come into a meditation of nothingness, what I call 0 point. How you do that is up to you, but I suggest just closing your eyes, softening your body, and just feeling all of the energy. You could refer to it as chi, or prana, kundalini, sensation, flow. Just be really aware of what is here and now, feeling yourself slowing down from the frantic pace of trying to keep time. Feel the blossoming of every new second, slowing down from the future, descending into the body, being led by breath. So we're going to refer to that state of the mind called knowing as opposed to thinking, and you can ask yourself a question. What will lead me forward? Which creation will help open my new offering? Or something worded like that. Just ask yourself, what wants to be birthed from me? What way can I use my art or my creativity to express myself and help people really connect with who I am? And once you ask yourself a question which feels relevant to you, just go into softness and stillness and listen. A deep listening, not with your ears, but with an inner knowing, where you just have an openness, and you can sometimes have a whole concept drop in within a second. Doesn't take necessarily time. It's like a flash, a lightning flash of a whole vista. All right, cool. I had my flash, which I'll tell you about in a second. So once you've got that vision, that's our intention for the session. That's the thing that we want to bring through. And now start bringing that through into the physical through sound. If you think of sound, it's like that initial ripple into the physical. So you're sitting there with the concept, which exists in the spiritual and mental realm. And now we want to activate the physical. So just start humming or umming or making a sound from the place in the body that feels like that idea is seated in. For me, it feels like, I'll tell you the idea anyway, and you can know why I laughed. For some reason, the flash I got was a kid's book, and it was simply a duck in gumboots going into a puddle. A really cute little picture. So that's something that I should create, a kid's book about a duck. Awesome. And it felt very yellow, and it felt spring-like, and it felt like it was in my solar plexus. So I'm going to make sounds now, and this is sounding from the body. So rather than thinking that our sound was always from our throat, which I guess anatomically is correct, sounding is a full body experience. And can you feel the reverberation in that particular part of the body. So making a sound. Yeah. So I'm feeling like a growl quack thing happening. And as you feel the sound, it can then evolve from a sound into a movement. So this is, I call, the creation sequence. It goes from the void of nothing into intention, into sound, and then into movement. So now I feel like I've locked into a kind of a loop, and I think that looping is a really great way to detach the mind. With martial arts and with certain mantras and meditations, we do things over and over, and it allows the body to really start to flush itself and detach the self-obsession with how I look or how I sound, all these kind of things. So I found this kind of loop, and I'm just going to loop that for a bit. So find some embodiment that feels like it's the expression of your idea and just loop it. Okay, cool. And so that's evolved now into ideas. So that's a sequence I would encourage. We've gone now from sound and movement into concepts. And I'm just going to freestyle now to you what concepts have been activated in me through this process. So I'll bring you a cup. Come in, children, for story time. So I realize this is a bit of a crash course. If you guys want to train at length with me, I'm just starting a 6-week open world program. So you're in time for that if you want to jump on board. 6 weeks of weekly training. Or I also do creativity coaching as well. So reach out if you want less of a rapid pace thing, but hopefully you're tracking. Okay, so I've activated in my body this concept of a kid's book. It's a storybook about a duck that wants to wear gumboots. But as I was doing that movement, more of the world came to my mind. So I'm just going to freestyle now to kind of unlock a little bit of that. So there's all of these puddles, but the mud is not just earth and water. It's sort of polluted and it's useless. I can't even swill it in my beak and have a little bit of a filter because it's all off kilter. It's starting to feel like it's poisonous. And I know that all of these other little ones are joining us here at the end of the pond in the lake, but I think it's a mistake if we start to take it into us because there's bits of rust and tin and yuck and plastic and it's all starting to stick in my throat, and I hope that I can return back to the woods where I felt like I was alive again. Cool, so you got the basic concept. Just allowing it to flow. The concept being this duck needs to wear gumboots because he can't go into the puddles anymore because they're so polluted. So I think this is kind of cute kids book idea, and I want to try and hold myself accountable to this, where the concept I'm coming up with now is, and I'm just coming up with this live with you, is imagine all of these animals having to insulate themselves with all of these human created boots and equipment and masks and things just to be in nature. So that's kind of a cool book, and I should write it. So if I wanted to expand on this concept, I could use different parts of freestyling. So I'm going to drop into a little bit of this now with you guys. When I teach freestyling, I like to break it down because when my mind is going off on all these tangents, I'm using a bunch of different tricks and they can be separated out. So one of the key elements is content. And this applies to most freeform kind of arts. So the freeform aspect of this would just simply have me talk rubbish, not worrying about rhyming, not worry about anything else, just speak non-stop. A friend of mine used to have this cute exercise, would get people to write. This is Miles Merrill, who runs Word Travels. And he would say that the pen is a paddle and the blue line on the paper is the water, and you just have to keep paddling so you don't sink. So I'm just going to talk about ducks. So Ducks are yellow, but they're also white. Ducks walk around. Ducks actually live right outside my parents' place. Ducks hatch eggs. Ducks fly. They're like geese. They're like swans. Ducks are kind of commonplace. Ducks eat bread. Ducks have webbed toes. Webbed toes. Mutants. duck mutants, mutation, alteration, climate change, altering. Imagine mutant ducks. What would the first thing to be? Maybe they could have webbed bills, webbed beaks. They can't speak. They're starting to be muted because their beaks are now being webbed. Ducks in ponds. Imagine the pond maybe becomes so acidic it burrows down and opens up a hole in the earth. Ducks are domestic. Ducks laying eggs in exhaust pipes of cars. Cars are kind of like nests, people nesting in cars, people being stuck in their nests. Houses webbing over, houses mutating, and the front doors web over like webbed feet and people can't get out. Cool, so that's one part of my freestyle would be the content. The second part, and sorry I can see there's a few people commenting, but I'm just trying to keep free flow, but I'll definitely read and comment back after this. So once I've gone through the content, I start to look at the rhythm and the musicality. So this is things like the dynamic shifts and the speeds with which I can speak. I wonder whether or not we can speak in some kind of rhythm. And I like the way that we can make the music with the words. It doesn't have to rhyme. It is just about the way that the music comes out of my body. And I can keep on going. And I You get the feel? So this is a game that I created called Flow Topology. A bit like a topographic map going up and down. So you can play this with friends. You can go, all right, cool, here's your flow. It goes like this. Do, da 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 ba da. And they go, ooh, I really like that one. I think it is kind of cool, you know? And so this is the way that we realize that the words and the concepts are completely separate from the dynamic shifts, the musicality, the rhythm. Same thing with our ideas though, we can go into details, and a key part of storytelling for me is when to extend and when to, it's kind of like when to go deeper and when to continue on. So when do you go into more details about it, and when do you actually jump to the next chapter or the next scene, the next idea? So there can be a rhythm in that too. It could be like, here's all the little details about the duck and the beaks and the eyes, and I want to make sure you understand its feathers. And all of a sudden the car comes and there's these big guys racing past. So we've had this like digga. And like dancing, variety is a nice way. Particularly when you're doing this in a live setting, if you're a live performer or just having a conversation, you can feel the energy of the room. And I think that there's three key elements when you start to perform or when you start to engage other human beings. There's a sequence of three things that I do every time. So if I can get into the space beforehand, I go in and I touch the walls, I go to the back of the room, I stand where the audience is going to be, and I imagine my communication and my performance coming and reaching them. Cool, that's arrived, great, and I really feel connected to the space. If you don't have that luxury, at least look. When you get out there, don't be so stuck in your head and trying to remember the script of what you're going to say that you don't actually connect with the space. So that's the first thing. Arrive, orient yourself to the space that you're going to perform in or you're going to pour your art into. Secondly, is connecting with the people, because that conversation is more important than anything. Your art is like the liquid that's going to flow across a channel, but that channel needs to be established between you and your audience. So just simply acknowledging them and simply opening your energy. You might be in front of hundreds or thousands of people, so you can't look at every single person in the eye, but it's like, oh, cool, I get it. There are other human beings here and we are sharing the same space. It's really piercing through that idea of the fourth wall where I pretend I can't see you, and therefore I'm insulating my energy and my true communication from landing with you. So that's what I want to avoid. I want to really feel like you feel me. You reach me, and therefore it's like tug of war. There needs to be friction on that rope before I can flow anything along it. So connect with the people, and then come back to the intention. Now the intention is not the specifics of the artwork. It's the underlying essence of the story. It's the underlying essence of the dance, essence of the song, not worrying about the little bits in between. And when you are in that state, your art welcomes people to inhabit that state with you. So I think that's the thing. You connect with the intention and you feel it. And you're already open, you're already connected to the people, and you come out and you just start free flowing. And I know that there's a way that this feels like we are growing together, maybe webbing. And I know that it's my head, and that sometimes I can be dreaming these seeds as we speak them like a pea shooter. and it's hitting on you and it's growing over you like a garden if your skin doesn't harden, and it's the art of it. And I'm now sitting here in the kindergarten of our youthfulness. It's like a nursery, and I know that we can be having this anniversary again and again as we're cycling around the sun, and we feel like we are becoming one as we web together in this garden, this vine. And I feel like my mind, it might be something that I climb, just like Jack and the Beanstalk, sticking my head above the clouds now, etc. So you can go on from there. But those are 3 points. You connect with the space, connect with the people, connect with your intention, and then free flow it, trusting all the preparation and trusting your sincerity of essence. So then you're freestyling. To recap what we did with the freestyle, we talked about content. We talked about the musicality, the flow, which you've probably heard a bit by now. And the last point in the freestyle is the form or the word play. So this is not necessarily about making sense. It's not about content. It's not about the musicality of it. It's just simply taking a word. Let me have a look here. Okay, so I've got a magazine here. It says collection. So I'm just going to dissect it, collect it, reflect it, collect it, eclectic, tic-tac, tock, tectonic plates, shift, shaft, shafted, shuffling, syphilis, esophagus, cost. The cost of the kids is the syphilis in the esophagus, cost in gost, gaslighting, kiss fighting, fist, fast, facts, it's fluctuating, reflections, fluctuations, clock tick-tocking, temptations, anticipation of the participation, but also procrastination, precipitation. Relief. So there you go. You're just going to go, hey, thanks for clicking in. So these are the ways that we can really just like be a nerd surgeon of the words. We can like go, what's it like reflected back? What happens if I take the syllable, put it over there? So that's the third part of freestyling. It's the form, it's the wordplay. Putting them all together, I've done a few examples already, so I won't go back into it, but you're talking about something and then you're being enamored by the words, ridiculous. Then you get a little bit taken away by the musicality of what you're saying, and you like to make it kind of fun and you start to feel it. And it's kind of like biding your time because your mind is going, oh, I meant to be saying something. And then you can go back into the ideas, and then there might be an interesting word and you just start to be the nerd word surgeon for a bit on that, and that brings up a new idea or brings up an interesting rhythm. So you've got these kind of 3 very different sections of flow happening all at the same time, and they're kind of helping you. It's like that, what's that thing in roller derby where you swing past and you whip it? You whip your friend around. So the rhythm will rip around the concepts will rip around some cool wordplay. And that's anyway how I freestyle and how I like to teach people to dissect this anomaly, this mysterious thing that is making stuff up on the spot. So, recapping again, for those of you who just joined, we've gone through a creation sequence, starting off in a meditative kind of neutral space. From there, we're coming up with, I think it's all often love-based or beauty-based intention, allowing that intention to ripple in the body first through sound, allowing that sound to then evolve into a movement. Then when your body is moving, find a loop that you can just detach the mind from and loop through. And then you get the feeling. What's the feeling of this thing that you want to birth? And then you just allow that to transition into words. Start speaking it, start talking it. And then it's up to you. So you might not be a physical performer, you might be a writer, you might be a painter, you might have any number of different ways of expressing yourself. But I think that gives you the beginning of the creation sequence to then translate that story into your body of work from your own personal body. Because I think that's ultimately what it is. Life is out there, we experience it and make a copy in ourselves. When I talk about poetry, I often talk about creating a blueprint. So I've got an experience in me, I codify it into the symbols of language, I send it over to you, but I can only get as far as your surface. You have to receive it through your senses, take it into your mind, and paint a new picture in your inner reality of what those words mean to you. Everyone's picture will be different. And so that's kind of how we create duplicates. That's how I have an experience, it comes into me, I have an experience, I turn it into art, I give it to you, you have an experience. And that's what we're doing. So I feel by having your artwork happen in your body first, you have a very first-hand understanding of what that final product should feel like. And I think ultimately with the arts, that's what we're doing. We are putting this little thing out in the world and understanding the human audience member is going to come and witness it and take it into them, and the art happens actually in them. I really love this interview I read that happened obviously before David Bowie passed away, when he was talking about the internet being the new rock and roll. And his opinion was that rock and roll had been sort of commodified and turned into this pop product, but that the internet was the new rebellion, and he loved the way that the internet wasn't complete until it had a user. And this is a really interesting way when we have this interactive media that we've got, and just culture in general, when we have something which isn't complete until it's received by the recipient, by the audience member, until then they add their own take on it. You know, abstract art can be really powerful for that fact, because we make it mean something to us. And I think that, maybe just to wrap up the more philosophic part of this chat, this is what we are doing as artists in the modern day. We have so much cerebral understanding. We know about politics, and we know about racism, and we know about genetics, and we know we've got the history path to learn from, and yet we don't really care on a human level. We don't apply it on a daily basis because all that cerebral information doesn't make sense on the human scale. But we as artists can take it and codify it, turn it into something which can actually impact and change people. And that's why it's such a powerful medium and such an important role to play. Art is not just frivolous. Art is the way to be like a conductor of culture. It's the way that we can take attention, we can summon the power of interests, we can make people fall in love, we can take people on immersive experiences, and we can shift their insides. It's so manipulative, really, because we make people feel things. And so beyond all that, beyond all the moral obligation to say something meaningful, let's come back to the seed of it, embodiment. Do you feel? Do you really feel your life? Do you allow life to get into you, to grab you by the guts, to churn you, to get you excited, to arouse you, to make you animalistic, to make up words, to just be silly, but to be sincere, to play, and at the same time trust yourself enough to throw it out into the world with conviction and say, that's my art. Because how many of us at home are creating things, are singing songs in the shower, are drawing, are doodling, are writing stories, are telling them to our kids, and yet not standing by them when it's shown in the light of day? You know what? Even if your art isn't going to change the world, by simply you displaying it, and I really hope that this session is going to encourage a number of people to spill their own art into the public domain, because by doing that, you will act as a source of permission for someone else. They will recognize some part of your process in them. They will feel that character you come up with, or they will hear that lullaby in their own dusk between sleeping and waking. They will recognize themselves if you soften into sincerity and you open your channel and you gift your little bit of creation out to the world, because it's the ripple effect of art that really takes hold, not any one artwork. People that have affected me most, like the Beatles, like Michael Jackson, like Robin Williams, it's not necessarily their music or their movies that totally shake me. It's the essence of them. It's the concept of them. It's the way that they open up. It's the worlds they create. It's the way that they are affected by their own art that really inspires me. So it's not their art. It's the effect. And then I go out and I create something, like definitely embodiment, conviction, Will Ferrell as well. Michael Jackson and Will Ferrell might not seem to be the likeliest of inspirations, but there's a conviction. They nail it. They are in it. They're not feeling silly for fully being a point or a source of something. So yeah, feel it, mean it, share it. And I'm just going to wrap up now with one more embodiment activity. So if you're playing along at home, you can get yourself up again. All right, talking about sticking it, talking about meaning it, what we're going to do is we're going to create a character with ourselves. I believe that we are always animating our bodies. I believe that we are always infusing it with what I call energy scaffolding. We are propping it up. Your personality comes into your face. Your personality comes into your posture, the way you walk, the way you hold things, the way you tap your fingers on the desk, whatever it is. So just feel into the energy scaffolding that is currently holding your body. And sometimes it defies physiology. You might feel like you've got a third leg, or might feel like you've got a big pole through your neck. But just feel into what feels real to you right now. For me, I feel like I've got a diagonal disc through my ribs. Sometimes it helps to paint it with your hands. Feel and move. What is the shape that's stuck in our bodies? What is this energy? Yeah. So once again, breath, sound, and movement. And just opening the mind, softening the mind. So you feel what is the communication that is stuck in your body? What is the thing that your superconscious or your subconscious is infusing into your body and trying to relay it to yourself or to the world? When I'm looping this feeling, this diagonal disc through my ribs, there's this panic. And it feels like I'm pulling back on a rope because I'm like, no, come back here. And it feels like it's too late. I feel like this shit has gone out and I want to pull it back into myself. It's like a regret. It's like we've done things wrong. We're being done damaging things, whether it's me as a person or us as a culture. And it's like, oh, come back in. It's too late. Come back. Come back. So you can turn that into words, and sometimes by just fully feeling it and fully saying your words and allowing yourself to hear yourself is a really key way to build trust with yourself. Because imagine if you are trying to communicate something to yourself consistently, whether it be, like I said, your subconscious, your superconscious, whether it be ancestral DNA or just your childlike dream. There are things we silence, we mute, we numb out to. So by doing this process of energy scaffolding, feeling into what we are infusing into our bodies, and by moving with it, breath, sound, and movement with it, and then bringing it into words and saying that communication, allowing your body to feel, thank God you were listening, you heard the thing I've been trying to communicate through you. It can really help to give you that relief. This concept of making an exact duplicate, an exact picture of things, and then they can just dissolve. They don't have to be stuck in you. And once you, as an artist, as a communicator, free yourself up from all of the embedded, stuck energy, all of the unspoken stories and songs and messages, you can come to become much more fluid and versatile. And you can really start to tell so many different stories and embody so many different characters. It's the idea in open world theatre of being willing to be anyone and experience anything. So really, I feel it's like being a state of a river. It's deep, but it's calm on the surface. It's powerful, but it's not frantic. Just become this glacier of calm and tension. And start to realize that all of us humans are looking over our shoulder, trying to pick up on the new trend, on the new slang, on the new way to embody ourselves, on the acceptable way to be. I really encourage people through open world theatre to reintroduce themselves to their humanity, to rewild and also to re-child yourselves. Be curious, be silly, and most of all, trust your body to be a conduit for all these different parts of ourselves. One of the reasons I'm so passionate about embodiment work, or bringing things through the body, or taking them from a conceptual, intangible thing into a physical form, is that it's very direct and it's a shared space. There's this idea of the 5-body system: the spiritual body, the mental body, the energetic body, the emotional body, and the physical body. And ironically for me, I think that sequence is actually going from closest to most far away. If you think of the spiritual body, that's you. That's your direct and immediate inclination decision. You just are it. There's no time involved. You shift like that. When you come into the mind, I can imagine something. I'm going to fantasize about this person, or I'm going to imagine me being like this in the future. I've got a pretty good handle, but sometimes weird stuff comes into the mind. Beyond that is the energy body. That's getting to the role of Zen monks who can control their chi and heat themselves up at will and move stuff around. So it's a little bit further away from us. Then comes the emotional body. Now, I don't know, who is totally a conductor of their emotions? That stuff can just grab you from nowhere and churn you around. So it's a bit further away. And then comes our body. Can you just heal at will? Can you slow your heart down? Can you change, the color of your eyes? These are things which, if we had the physical dexterity to do, we could actually manipulate through the function of our organs, our hormones, all these kind of things, and we can shift our body functions. So even though it's immediate, our body is immediate, in my mind, it's actually quite far away from our immediate ability to affect. That's why embodiment work is so important for me, is because it's a way to connect with that part of myself which is actually quite distant. So I'd encourage you to dig in, and the more you let yourself feel, the more inspiration you will receive. Because life is a crazy creation. There is the full array of every story under the sun, of every weather pattern, of every perverted, diverse, heavy, devious thing that we could come up with, and the most beautiful, generous, selfless, saintly thing. It's all out there. And the more we allow ourselves to feel, the more we can be shifted and changed. And from there, we have more to give. So I hope that has been a useful session for you all. Like I said, I'm doing a 6-week open world theatre course starting. It's already started. This is week 0, but our first training is this Sunday. Please reach out if you'd like to train with me. That's an online session, so you can do it from anywhere in the world. Or if you'd like some creativity coaching, I love to create. I'm here for artists and I'm here for art. So thank you for joining me today. This has been Creative Embodiment, and I hope it made you feel something. And please, if you've been inspired, please share this, and also share your creations with me. And for me, I'm going to hold myself accountable and try and write that book about the duck who needs to wear gumboots because all the puddles are too polluted.